mean, but we do have to face some good questions, or questions that just are here, you know, whether we like it or not, you know, and rhetoric isn't going to solve them.
Je vais poser votre question brièvement, oui. Oui,
what is the effect of the private societies like the Bohemian Club and the Skulls and Bones? I mean, they are the one, I guess, that are pushing us towards the cliff. You know, it's not everybody in the society. A lot of people, they don't know what they do, but somebody is pushing them. You probably know about this group. One of the group of Women Club is not very far from Oregon.
Well, yeah, the ruling class has all these elite clubs, and it doesn't matter who's in office either. Whether they belong to this club or that club, it's the same racket. It's the same. They endorse every single basic institution and every other institution for that matter, whether it's Obama or whoever. You know, that's. You know, what does it matter what club they're in? They're part of. Their interests are very different from that of the rest of us and the other species and the other things that are trying to live on this planet.
Yes, sir. At some point tonight, you said that something about how you cannot get people to do something symbolic unless you break them. Do you remember that?
Oh, the domestication thing?
Yes. Can you repeat that and elaborate a little bit?
Well, that's you know, we wonder how that happened. I mean, how did they pull it off? And it's interesting to note, and I'm glad I get a chance to maybe flesh that out a little bit more, that it was a huge struggle. It was a bloody struggle. As Stanley Diamond in Search of the Primitives, a very good source on that. It wasn't like, oh, domestication, there's a cool idea, let's go do that, you know. Then we'll have private property, we'll have temples, we'll have armies, we'll have slavery, we'll have all these wonderful things. They of course, nobody knew that at the beginning, but people resisted it very fiercely in many, many places. And some even were able to struggle back to forager life, or hunter-gatherer life, or whatever, band society life. There's a lot of words for life outside of or before domestication, before civilization. But you know, when you take over, when you engineer life, when you engineer, you have a wild animal, for example, you want them to be tame. Well, that's domestication, you know. And it is, by the way, where private property comes from. I've planted this, I've weeded this, I've sweated over it, stay away. I'm going to put up a fence. This is mine, and that's a new thing. It's because of domestication. There's a logic to it, but what does it lead to? You know, all these institutions that are so estranging and you know, lead to worse things.
You used the word symbolic. Did I hear correctly?
I don't know if I did in that context.
You can't get people to produce something symbolic, and symbolic was the adjective, unless you break them.
Oh, symbolic culture.
Symbolic culture.
Right. And in that case,
intriguing.
Well, Freud opted for that because he thought, well, I guess we have to cripple everybody because art is so great and people are not going to work unless they have to. I mean, it really does get back to that kind of turn, that kind of institutional choice. You know, and that's why we're chafing under it. I mean, I think Freud was exactly right. In fact, he was probably too sanguine. People are neurotic in so many ways, and I think that's a very basic thing that you can trace it to. And maybe we'll get the chance to find out if we break the domestication. Maybe that's the end of that neurosis. That was his point. Yeah.
You trace the origin of the civilization problem back to domestication and agriculture. Other authors and figures have traced it to writing, and more precisely alphabetic writing. What do you think about that theory?
Or cities. I think those things appear pretty rapidly, relatively speaking, but I think they're more after effects, if you will, or part of the fulfilling of the civilizational trajectory. They appear soon afterwards, but they're not I don't think they're the operative, decisive institution that causes them. You know, that's, and sometimes that's not put so much for explanatory purposes as just maybe more for classificatory purposes. That's how we define civilization. At least some people put it that way. They're not saying that's what explains or causes civilization, but maybe some do. But I think that's not quite as basic as domestication.
Well, that pretty much wraps up it. People have questions.
I
they
disagree.
can.
If you are really anarchist,
Look,
ask
if
this
we-
assembly
I don't want
if they want
problems
to
here.
leave.
Can you go out?
I do not. I will stay.